Imagine a child who flinches at the slightest touch, avoids eye contact, or has unexplained bruises. Another child is always hungry, wearing the same clothes for days, struggling to stay awake in class. And then there's the quiet one, the one who never speaks up, never asks for help, but whose artwork is filled with dark, unsettling images. These are just a few ways that child abuse and neglect manifest, often hidden in plain sight. Child abuse is not just about physical harm. It includes emotional abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, and psychological maltreatment, all of which can have lifelong consequences. The World Health Organization estimates that 1 in 4 children worldwide experience some form of abuse before adulthood. In the United States alone, reports suggest that over 600,000 children suffer from maltreatment each year, though the real number is likely much higher due to underreporting. The psychological impact of abuse is profound and long-lasting. Research shows that children who experience abuse are at a much higher risk for PTSD, depression, anxiety disorders, substance abuse, and even suicidal behavior. The landmark Adverse Childhood Experiences study found that the more traumatic experiences a child endures, the higher their likelihood of developing chronic illnesses, mental health disorders, and even early mortality. In fact, individuals with 4 or more ACEs are 460% more likely to develop depression compared to those with no ACEs. One of the most devastating effects of abuse is its impact on brain development. Studies using neuroimaging have shown that prolonged exposure to stress shrinks the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, becomes overactive, making these children hypervigilant, easily startled, and constantly on edge. Over time, this rewires their ability to regulate emotions, making it harder for them to trust others or form healthy relationships. Children who experience emotional abuse or neglect often develop attachment issues. Attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and later expanded by Mary Ainsworth, explains how early relationships shape a child's emotional development. Children who experience consistent neglect or emotional rejection often develop insecure attachment styles, making them either overly dependent on others for validation or completely withdrawn from relationships. A heartbreaking case study is that of Romanian orphans in the 1980s and 90s. Due to severe neglect in overcrowded institutions, many children developed severe cognitive delays, attachment disorders, and emotional dysregulation. Even years after being adopted into loving families, many continued to struggle with trust, impulse control, and social interactions, showing just how deeply early neglect impacts brain and emotional development. The challenge in addressing child abuse is that many children do not or cannot report it. Fear, shame, loyalty to abusive caregivers, or even not realizing that what they are experiencing is abuse often prevents disclosure. This is why early identification is critical. Signs of abuse can include regressive behaviors, such as bedwetting, extreme withdrawal or aggression, unexplained injuries, fear of specific adults, and academic decline. So, how can professionals help? The first step is creating safe spaces where children feel heard and believed. Trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy has been one of the most effective treatments for children recovering from abuse, helping them process their trauma in a structured way while developing coping strategies. Studies show that TFCBT reduces PTSD symptoms in over 80% of child survivors. Another crucial approach is strengthening the child's support system. Child-parent psychotherapy is particularly useful for young children, as it focuses on repairing the caregiver-child bond, especially when the abuse occurred within the home. For children in the foster system, stable, long-term placements and consistent relationships with trusted adults can significantly improve emotional recovery. The legal system also plays a role, but it comes with complications. In some cases, children are removed from abusive homes only to be placed in multiple foster homes, leading to further emotional distress. And while reporting abuse is mandatory for teachers, doctors, and psychologists, many cases still go unnoticed due to lack of clear evidence or fear of legal battles. One of the biggest misconceptions about child abuse survivors is the idea that they will inevitably become abusive adults themselves. While research shows that some victims do struggle with parenting later in life, many break the cycle. With the right therapy, support, and resilience building, children who experience abuse can go on to lead healthy, fulfilling lives. But the key to stopping abuse is not just intervention, it's prevention. Community programs that educate parents on healthy discipline strategies, emotional regulation, and stress management have been shown to reduce child maltreatment rates. Schools that implement social-emotional learning programs help children build resilience, recognize unsafe situations, and seek help when needed. At its core, addressing child abuse is not just about healing the trauma, it's about breaking the cycle. By identifying, supporting, and advocating for vulnerable children, we create a world where every child has the chance to feel safe, valued, and loved.